Somebody say, I'm ready for a breakthrough. Listen to me, church. Tonight is not just another meeting, not just another message. Tonight, God is about to shift your atmosphere. I'm talking about a move from the ordinary to the extraordinary. I'm talking about a life that rises above limitations, a destiny that refuses to be delayed. This is next dimension living. God has a plan for your elevation. He's calling you out of the small, the safe, the familiar, and he's saying, step into the next level I've prepared for you. But you can't stay the same and expect to rise. You can't hold on to yesterday and embrace tomorrow. God is about to stretch you, strengthen you, and position you in a place where your faith will have no choice but to grow, and your vision will have no limits. So if you are ready to stop living beneath your blessing, if you are ready to leave behind the ordinary and step into the extraordinary, then lift up your hands, lift up your voice, and say, I'm ready for God's elevation. Because tonight, your next dimension is calling, and God's plan for your life cannot be stopped. Somebody shout, I'm ready for the next dimension. Too many of us are living below the destiny that God has planned for us. We wake up each day, go through the motions, and wonder why our lives feel smaller than the dreams we carry inside. But I want you to hear me tonight. God has a next dimension for your life, a level that is bigger than your circumstances, higher than your setbacks, and broader than your imagination. Understanding God's next dimension begins with recognizing that He is not limited by what you see, what you've experienced, or what you think is possible. The God who created the heavens and the earth is the same God who knows the exact capacity of your heart and the exact timing of your elevation. And if you will open your eyes and your heart, you will begin to see that the next dimension is not just about more money, more recognition, or more comfort. It is about more purpose, more impact, and more alignment with God's plan for your life. Many people miss their next dimension because they mistake progress for stagnation or delay for denial. They look at their current situation and say, this is all I can be, this is all I can do. But that is a lie from the enemy. The next dimension is waiting for you right now. It is closer than you think. It is knocking at your heart, calling for your faith, and inviting you to step out of what is comfortable and familiar. To understand this next dimension, you must first understand that God's ways are higher than your ways. His timing is perfect. His plans are intentional. And the very things that feel like obstacles or detours are often the very pathways to elevation. What feels like waiting is actually preparation. What feels like delay is actually alignment. And what feels like failure is often the fertilizer for the harvest God is preparing for you. Understanding God's next dimension also requires that you change the way you see yourself. Many people are trapped in old labels, past mistakes, and outdated identities. But God is saying tonight that you are not who you were yesterday. You are not the sum of your failures, your losses, or your disappointments. The next dimension requires a new mindset, a new perspective, and a new level of expectation. You must begin to see yourself the way God sees you, not limited, not small, not ordinary, but elevated, capable, and designed for something extraordinary. When you understand that God has placed a next level within you, your faith will rise, your confidence will grow, and your courage will increase because you will know that you are not walking this path alone. The Creator of the universe is guiding you, equipping you, and opening doors that no one can shut. There is also a principle of readiness in understanding God's next dimension. God cannot elevate you if you are not ready for the responsibilities that come with the next level. You see, elevation always requires preparation. It requires endurance. It requires character that can withstand pressure and a spirit that can carry the weight of destiny. That is why God often allows seasons of testing, trial, and even struggle. He is not punishing you. He is polishing you. He is refining your heart, sharpening your vision, and teaching you lessons that cannot be learned in comfort. Understanding the next dimension means embracing these seasons with faith, knowing that every challenge is a stepping stone, every delay is a setup, and every moment of doubt is an opportunity to trust God more deeply. Finally, understanding God's next dimension requires vision. You cannot step into something you cannot see. You cannot pursue something you do not believe exists. The Bible says that where there is no vision, the people perish. And God is giving you a vision tonight, a vision of a life beyond limitations, a life of influence, impact, and fulfillment. You must believe that the next dimension is real. You must speak it, act on it, and move toward it with faith that is unshakable. Your next dimension is calling for you to step up, to step out, and to step into the fullness of God's plan. It is not just a dream. It is a reality waiting to be claimed. And the moment you understand that God's next dimension is for you, not against you, not delayed, and not out of reach, your heart will ignite, your faith will explode, and your life will begin to move in ways you never imagined. So hear me tonight. The next dimension is not a possibility, it is your destiny. God has a plan for you that is bigger, higher, and greater than anything you have known. Understanding it is the first step to living it. And if you will embrace it, trust it, and walk in alignment with it, there is no limit to how far God can take you. The next dimension is yours, and it begins the moment you decide to see yourself through God's eyes, believe His promises, and step boldly into the life He has prepared for you. So many of us never reach the heights God has planned for us because we are trapped in the cages of our own thinking. We walk around carrying invisible chains made of doubt, fear, and limiting beliefs. And the enemy loves it when we believe that our past defines our future, that our mistakes define our worth, or that our current circumstances define what's possible. But God is calling you tonight to break free. He is saying, step out of the mindset that keeps you small. Step out of the patterns that hold you back. Step into the freedom I have prepared for you. You see, limitation is not from God, it is from fear, it is from insecurity, and it is from believing lies that say, you cannot, you won't, you shouldn't. But when you start to align your mind with God's truth, you begin to see that there are no limits to what He can do in your life. The sensuous, very chains that have bound you are being broken tonight. And you have a choice. You can stay stuck in what is comfortable, or you can step into what is extraordinary. Breaking free from limiting mindsets begins with awareness. You must first recognize the lies that you have been telling yourself. Many of us have grown comfortable with mediocrity, believing that struggle, failure, or disappointment is all we deserve. We allow negative thoughts to run unchecked in our minds, planting seeds of doubt that grow into massive barriers. But here is the truth. God never intended for you to live beneath your potential. He never intended for you to shrink yourself to fit into the small box the world has placed you in. Every thought that limits you is an invitation to challenge it. Every fear that tries to stop you is a call to courage. And every voice that says, you can't, must be met with the voice of faith that says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. The next step in breaking free is decision. You cannot remain trapped in limitation and expect elevation. You have to make a conscious choice to reject the thoughts that hold you back and embrace the mindset that propels you forward. This is where many stumble. They see the next dimension God has for them. They feel the call to greater things, but they are unwilling to release old ways of thinking. Let me tell you something, the mind is a battlefield, and the moment you decide to think differently, you step onto the front lines of spiritual warfare. The enemy will try to whisper, you are not ready. You are not capable. This is too big for you. But you must fight back with the Word of God, with faith and with the declaration that your mind is not a prison but a launch pad for destiny. Breaking free requires action, and action requires courage. You must speak what God has spoken over your life, act on the opportunities He places before you, and refuse to settle for anything less than His best. Breaking free also requires patience and persistence. You will not change your mindset overnight. Habits of thought, patterns of self-doubt, and years of conditioning cannot be erased in a moment. But each time you choose faith over fear, each time you reject a lie and embrace God's truth, you are rewiring your mind for elevation. You are preparing yourself to operate in the next dimension of God's plan. And even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it feels challenging, you must persist. God is at work in your mind, and He is transforming your thinking so that your life can reflect His glory. Finally, breaking free from limiting mindsets leads to empowerment. Once you release the chains that hold you back, you will begin to operate in a new level of confidence, clarity, and courage. You will start to dream bigger, act bolder, and trust deeper. Doors that were once closed will begin to open. Opportunities that seemed impossible will become attainable. And most importantly, your faith will expand because you will realize that nothing is too hard for God. The moment you break free from limiting mindsets, you begin to experience the freedom, the purpose, and the elevation that God has always intended for you. So hear me tonight. You cannot step into God's next dimension while holding on to limiting thoughts. You cannot rise while thinking small. You cannot embrace the extraordinary while living in the ordinary. It is time to break the chains, tear down the walls, and release your mind to the truth of who God has called you to be. You are capable. You are worthy. You are chosen. And your limiting mindsets have no authority over the next dimension God has prepared for you. Step out. Break free. Believe big. Because God is ready to elevate you, and nothing, no past, no fear, no doubt can stop the plan He has for your life. If you want to live in the next dimension, you must first prepare your spirit for elevation. God cannot take you to a higher level if your spirit is unready, unaligned, or unrefined. Elevation is not just about opportunities or circumstances. It is about the condition of your heart and the strength of your spirit. Too many people chase success without first seeking the inner transformation that allows them to handle it. But God is saying tonight, before I elevate you, I must cultivate within you a spirit that can sustain the blessing, walk in the purpose, and carry the responsibility of the next level. This preparation begins with humility. You cannot rise while your spirit is proud. You cannot receive more when you think you already have enough. Humility opens the door to learning, growth, and surrender. It is the recognition that you need God in every area of your life, that you cannot accomplish what He has called you to do on your own, and that every step forward is a step guided by His hand. Preparation also requires patience. Elevation does not happen on your timetable, it happens on God's. Too often we get frustrated, we get anxious, we push, we force, we try to manipulate circumstances, and in the process, we miss the divine timing of our breakthrough. God is intentional with every season, every test, every challenge. He allows refining moments because He is building endurance in your spirit, and endurance is the currency of elevation. When you learn to wait on God, when you learn to trust His timing, your spirit grows stronger, your faith deepens, and you become ready for the dimension that is coming. Patience is not passive. It is an active trust, a confident assurance that God is working even when you cannot see the full picture. Another key aspect of preparing your spirit is purification. God cannot pour more into your life if your spirit is filled with unforgiveness, bitterness, or resentment. He cannot elevate what is weighed down by darkness. You must allow Him to cleanse your heart, to remove the things that hold you back, and to heal the wounds that keep you from moving forward. This may require prayer, reflection, and a willingness to confront areas of your life you have avoided. But when your spirit is pure, it becomes a vessel ready to receive God's best. Elevation requires readiness, and readiness comes through alignment with God's will. When your thoughts, actions, and intentions align with His purpose, your spirit becomes sensitive to His voice, obedient to His calling, and empowered to walk in the fullness of His plan. Preparation also involves vision. Your spirit must see what your eyes cannot yet fully perceive. The moment you begin to understand the magnitude of the next dimension, your spirit becomes expectant, hungry, and bold. Expectancy is the fuel of elevation. If your spirit is filled with doubt, fear, or disbelief, you will miss the opportunities God is sending your way. But when you cultivate a spirit that believes, a spirit that anticipates God's move, a spirit that is ready to act the moment He says go, you position yourself for breakthrough. God is not just elevating your position, He is elevating your perception, your capacity, and your courage. Finally, preparing your spirit requires worship and gratitude. The heart that praises God in the storm, the heart that remains thankful in the struggle, the heart that recognizes His goodness even in delay, is the heart that is prepared for elevation. Worship and gratitude align your spirit with the divine, and when your spirit is aligned, God's power flows unhindered. Elevation is not just about getting more, it is about becoming more. It is about becoming the person God has created you to be, the person capable of walking in faith, courage, and influence. Hear me tonight. Your spirit must be prepared before the elevation comes. You cannot step into the next dimension carrying the same fears, the same wounds, the same attitudes, or the same resistance. God is preparing you from the inside out. He is shaping your character, strengthening your resolve, and enlarging your capacity to handle what He is about to release. The storms, the trials, the refining moments, they are not setbacks, they are setups for your promotion. Your spirit is being readied for greatness. And if you will embrace humility, patience, purification, vision, and gratitude, you will be fully equipped to walk into the next level God has prepared for you. So I challenge you tonight to examine your spirit. Ask God to prepare you. Release the old. Embrace His refining work. Align your heart with His will. Lift your eyes beyond the limits of today. And know this, when your spirit is ready, your elevation cannot be stopped. The next dimension is waiting, and God has prepared your spirit to carry the glory, the power, and the impact of the life He has destined for you. Faith is the engine that drives elevation. Without faith, you cannot move to the next dimension, no matter how many opportunities are in front of you. Faith is not wishful thinking, faith is not blind hope, and faith is not a casual belief that everything will work out. Faith is the confident assurance that God's plan for your life is real, that His promises are true, and that His power is working even when your circumstances seem impossible. The moment you embrace faith, you tap into a supernatural force that transcends logic, defies fear, and overcomes every obstacle. Faith is what allows you to see beyond the present and walk boldly toward the future God has prepared for you. Many people never rise to the next dimension because they stop believing when the going gets tough. They see the storms, the delays, the setbacks, and they question God's plan. But let me tell you something tonight. Faith is not dependent on what you see. It is dependent on whom you trust. The same God who parted the Red Sea, fed thousands with a few loaves and fish, and raised the dead is the same God working in your life right now. When you put your faith in Him, you release a power that moves mountains, opens closed doors, and brings the impossible into reality. Faith is not passive, it is active. It is a force that compels you to step out, speak life, and act with courage, even when fear whispers in your ear that you cannot succeed. Faith grows through action. You cannot simply say you believe and then sit still expecting God to move. You must take steps, however small, toward the promises He has given you. Each act of obedience strengthens your faith. Each time you trust God in the small things, you build the confidence to trust Him in the big things. Each time you speak a word of faith over your life, declare His promises, or step out of your comfort zone, you create momentum for God to bring His plan to fruition. Faith is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. The stronger your faith, the greater your ability to walk in the next dimension God has for you. Faith also requires perseverance. There will be moments when it feels like nothing is happening, moments when your prayers seem unanswered, moments when the world tells you that you are too late, too small, or too weak. But this is when faith is tested and refined. True faith does not waver because circumstances are difficult. True faith holds on when hope seems distant. True faith believes God even when everything inside you wants to give up. Remember, the heroes of the Bible did not see immediate results. Abraham waited decades for the promise of Isaac. Joseph suffered betrayal, imprisonment, and delay before his destiny unfolded. David faced giants and enemies before he reigned as king. Faith is not about immediate results. It is about trusting God's timing, trusting God's plan, and trusting God's power. Another vital element of faith is vision. Faith allows you to see what God sees. It allows you to look beyond your current struggles, beyond the limitations of your resources, and beyond the opinions of those around you. Faith opens your eyes to the possibilities that God has prepared for you. It gives you hope, direction, and clarity. It allows you to act with confidence because you know that the next dimension is not just a dream, it is a promise. And when your faith is aligned with God's plan, no obstacle can block your path, no voice of doubt can shake your confidence, and no circumstance can stop the movement of God in your life. Faith is also contagious. When you operate in faith, you inspire others to believe, to hope, and to rise above their limitations. Your faith can shift the atmosphere around you, creating a ripple effect that impacts families, communities, and generations. God's elevation plan is not just for you, it is for the people around you. The power of faith allows you to step into your destiny while lifting others toward theirs. So tonight, I want to challenge you. Don't just hear about God's plan, believe in it. Don't just acknowledge the next dimension, walk in faith toward it. Refuse to let fear, doubt, or delay steal your breakthrough. Trust Him, obey Him, and act with courage. Faith is the key that unlocks God's elevation, the force that propels you to the next level, and the foundation of everything He has promised. The next dimension is waiting for those who believe, and your faith today will determine your destiny tomorrow. If you are going to live in the next dimension, you must understand that obstacles are not optional, they are inevitable. Every person who has ever walked in greatness, every person who has stepped into their God-given destiny has faced obstacles along the way. The difference between those who rise and those who fall is not the absence of difficulty, but the ability to overcome it. Obstacles are not signs that you should give up. They are indicators that you are on the path to elevation. They are the proving ground for your faith, the testing field for your character, and the refining fire for your spirit. God allows obstacles because He is preparing you for something bigger. He is shaping you, strengthening you, and teaching you lessons that can only be learned through challenge. One of the first keys to overcoming obstacles is perspective. Too many people see a problem and react with fear, doubt, or despair. They look at a barrier and say, "This is too much. I can't do this." But let me tell you tonight, obstacles are not the end of your story. They are part of your story. They are the stepping stones that God uses to elevate you. What seems like an insurmountable wall to the human eye is often a door to your next level when seen through the eyes of faith. God's word tells us that we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. This means that no obstacle is bigger than the one who is with you. Your challenge does not define you, your response to it does. When you change your perspective, you begin to see obstacles as opportunities, setbacks as setups, and trials as training for the next dimension. The next key to overcoming obstacles is resilience. Life will test you, push you, and stretch you beyond your comfort zone. There will be moments when you feel like giving up, when it seems easier to quit than to fight. But the people who reach the next dimension refuse to stay down. They rise every time they fall. They press on when the path is hard. They persist when hope seems distant. Resilience is built in the moments of struggle. It is strengthened by refusing to be defeated. And it is demonstrated when you keep your eyes on the promise of God rather than the problem in front of you. Your breakthrough is often one step beyond where you wanted to quit, one action beyond where you were ready to surrender, and one prayer beyond where you felt hopeless. Another essential principle is strategy. Overcoming obstacles requires wisdom, discernment, and a plan. Faith alone is powerful, but faith combined with action produces results. You must assess your situation, identify the tools God has given you, and act in alignment with His guidance. Sometimes the obstacle is external, a difficult person, a challenging circumstance, or a limited resource. Other times, the obstacle is internal fear, doubt, or insecurity. In every case, strategy, prayer, and perseverance are the weapons that will allow you to break through. God does not ask you to figure it all out on your own, but He does ask you to be proactive, to move in faith, and to trust Him with the results. Obstacles are also opportunities for growth. Every challenge you face carries a lesson, a skill, or a revelation that prepares you for the next dimension. When you struggle through difficulty, you develop strength, patience, character, and wisdom. When you face opposition, you learn persistence, faithfulness, and reliance on God. Obstacles are not enemies. They are teachers. They are the instruments God uses to prepare you for greater responsibility, higher levels of influence, and the full measure of the life He has planned for you. Finally, overcoming obstacles requires hope. You must believe that God is bigger than any challenge you face. You must believe that no setback can stop your breakthrough. You must hold on to the vision of your next dimension, even when the path is unclear. Hope fuels perseverance. Hope sustains faith. Hope turns trials into triumphs. The moment you refuse to give up and continue moving forward with hope, you position yourself for victory. So hear me tonight. The obstacles on your path are not there to stop you. They are there to strengthen you. They are not there to discourage you. They are there to define you. They are not permanent. They are temporary challenges preparing you for permanent elevation. Stand strong. Press forward. Face every trial with faith. Overcome every fear with courage. And know this, your next dimension is waiting on the other side of your obstacles, and God has equipped you with everything you need to get there. If you want to live in the next dimension, you must not only step into God's elevation, but you must also learn to walk in purpose and maintain sustained growth. Purpose is the compass that guides your journey, and growth is the engine that keeps you moving forward. Without purpose, you can climb, achieve, or succeed, but it will all feel empty. Without growth, you may reach a level, but you will plateau and fail to fulfill the full measure of what God has planned. Walking in purpose requires clarity, conviction, and courage. It requires a deep understanding of why you are here, what God has called you to do, and how your life intersects with His plan for the world. When you discover your purpose and align your actions with it, every step you take becomes intentional. Every decision becomes strategic, and every challenge becomes meaningful. Too many people drift through life, allowing circumstances, opinions, or distractions to dictate their path. They move aimlessly, hoping something good will happen, but they never take ownership of their calling. God did not create you to drift. He created you with intention, for impact, and for influence. Walking in purpose means you refuse to settle for less than what you were designed to accomplish. It means you identify your gifts, embrace your calling, and dedicate your life to fulfilling the plan that only you can fulfill. When you walk in purpose, you no longer chase after what others are doing. You no longer measure your life by someone else's standards, and you no longer get distracted by temporary pleasures or fleeting successes. Purpose keeps you steady, focused, and unshakable, even when the storms of life come. Sustained growth is the companion to purpose. Elevation without growth is like a balloon that rises only to burst under pressure. You must continually expand your capacity, develop your skills, and strengthen your character. Growth comes through learning, through experience, and through intentional effort. It requires that you step outside your comfort zone, that you embrace challenges as opportunities, and that you remain teachable, humble, and adaptable. God will place you in situations that stretch you because He wants to expand your ability to operate at the next level. Every failure, every success, every trial, and every triumph is an opportunity for growth. You cannot allow complacency to settle in, for stagnation will rob you of the elevation God has prepared for you. Walking in purpose also requires discipline. You must be intentional about your habits, your choices, and your priorities. It is easy to get caught up in busyness, distractions, or things that seem urgent but are not important. But walking in purpose means you say no to what hinders you and yes to what aligns with your calling. It means consistently investing your time, energy, and resources into the things that matter most. Purpose-driven living is not accidental. It is intentional. Every day, every moment, and every decision is a building block in the foundation of the next dimension God has prepared for you. Faithfulness is another key to sustained growth. You must be faithful in the small things before God entrusts you with greater responsibility. You must honor your commitments, maintain integrity, and remain consistent, even when the results are not immediate. Faithfulness is what prepares your heart for the weight of elevation. God honors consistent effort, persistent obedience, and a heart that refuses to quit. When you remain faithful, your growth becomes exponential, your influence increases, and doors open that were previously closed. Finally, walking in purpose and sustaining growth require vision. You must see beyond your current reality, beyond the challenges, beyond the limitations, and focus on the future God has prepared for you. Vision fuels persistence, vision directs your actions, and vision keeps you moving forward when circumstances try to slow you down. When you pair vision with purpose and growth, you become unstoppable. You walk with clarity, confidence, and courage because you know you are on the path God has designed, equipped, and called you to walk. So, hear me tonight. Walking in purpose and sustained growth is not optional. It is essential for living in the next dimension. You must know your why, cultivate your abilities, strengthen your spirit, remain disciplined, and never stop growing. Elevation is not just about reaching a level. It is about becoming the person capable of maintaining, multiplying, and maximizing that level. When you align with God's purpose and commit to continual growth, you will not only reach the next dimension, but you will thrive in it, impact others, and leave a legacy that lasts beyond your lifetime. Your purpose is calling. Your growth is demanding. God's next dimension is ready. Step into it, walk in it, And do not stop until you fulfill all that He has designed for your life. Somebody say, I'm ready for the next dimension. Tonight, we have walked together through the blueprint of God's elevation plan. We have learned to understand the next dimension for our lives, to break free from limiting mindsets, to prepare our spirits, to operate in faith, to overcome obstacles, and to walk consistently in purpose and sustain growth. Every principle, every word, every insight points to one undeniable truth. God has not finished with you. He has a next level waiting, a higher plane, a greater destiny, and it is yours for the taking. But let me tell you something, the next dimension is not for the passive, the hesitant, or the faint of heart. It is for those who are willing to believe when the world says it's impossible, to trust when circumstances are contrary, and to act when fear and doubt try to hold them back. Elevation requires faith, courage, and perseverance. It requires a willingness to leave the familiar behind and to step boldly into what God has promised. The truth is, your breakthrough is not just about what God will do. It is also about who God is shaping you to become in the process. Tonight, I want you to know this. God's elevation plan is not random. It is intentional. It is designed specifically for you. He is calling you out of the ordinary, beyond the limitations of the past, and into a life that is extraordinary. But you must respond. You must act. You must embrace every principle, every lesson, every challenge as a stepping stone to the next dimension. The obstacles, the delays, the doubts, they are temporary. Your purpose, your growth, your faith, they are eternal.